Good morning. It is Friday and it's art journal demo day. And I got a little bee in my bonnet today. I've got some people that I follow on Instagram and they've been doing really beautiful panels. And so I had a thought this morning that I will work on a panel instead of my book today. And you know, there's no reason particularly. I don't have designs to put it on the wall because obviously I don't know what it's going to look like. So it's really just the idea that it's sort of self-contained and one-sided, and I can put it in a box later and have a whole box full of panels and that I can flip through to feel good about what I do, or if I do end up with one that I like, that I could put it up. There's a lot to be said for working in a journal in terms of building up on something that you've done before, and having something you can flip through and look at the past and see what you've done and how you've grown and changed, or your style's changed, or techniques that you've used in the past. There's also something in the same way, like with a diary, that it's sort of permanent in your, well, we know it's not permanent because if you don't like it, you can change it, but that it's there in your book, and you work on both sides, and so there's a little bit of a feeling like you've committed to this. So I do really like working in a journal, but today I'm going to work on this instead. So the panel that I'm going to work on is this mixed media board by Crafters Workshop, one of my favorite brands that I have here in the store. And so she's the one that does, let's see, what do I have of hers? Easy reach. Nothing. I was like, where are they? So she's the one that does these butters. And she's also got right now the Ken Oliver, the powders. She's doing those for him. And then she does all the various stencils that we love so much. So just a couple of examples of that sitting in my stencil pile right now. I've got this one that I was using the other day, and I have this as a mask that I was using in jelly printing. So yeah, so this is a nice sturdy 12 by 12, pretty affordable too, of $7. And so it's got a little bit of a crescent board feel to it, so it's got a little tooth to the top, which I like. It means it's gonna, hold and grip whatever I put on it. And I'm just gonna do my usual thing just on top of this. Let's see. Yeah, so I did, since we're sort of focusing on Stamperia, not Stamperia, Stamperia. Today I did pull, I have a couple of stencils. There's the one that I used on Wednesday for the craft demo that I did. I don't know if you hopefully got a chance to see the video where I made a card. So I'll be using this stencil today as well. And then I pulled one of these ones. These ones are one of their earlier versions of their stencils, and they are a little more flimsy, and they're a little more for using with, say, blenders, and you're supposed to spray an adhesive on and a non-permanent adhesive on and put it in place. So I'm actually going to start with this and using a blending brush. And I'm going to do it with some StazOn. So StazOn, is a pigment. Is the StazOn? It's a pigment. It's one of the darkest pigments you can get, or the most opaque pigments you can get. And it's solvent, meaning oil-based. So that, there you go. Meaning that that is permanent when it dries, and is not water soluble, so it's not going to pop back up again. So just to give you an idea what that might look like. So if I were going for a more nuanced approach today, I'm not because I'm me, but then I might, just layer in a bunch of these words. All right. sort of, you know, and if I did that with a bunch of different colors, it would slowly layer up. And I can do that with a variety of tones. This is a archival ink.
Michelle says hi.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us today.
That's really pretty.
It is. It's why I'm keeping going with it. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just do this all the whole time. So, you know, I am not.
Satisfying to watch.
Yeah, I'm not a subtle person with my work. I generally go kind of bold and lots of layers. I genuinely don't think of anything as really complete until it has a lot of layers on it. So I often, you know, something this subtle this early on is not my style, but it is looking very pretty, and this color combination happens to be very satisfying.
It's the same colors on your watch.
Ah, my unicorn. That's funny. Good eye. I will be honest, I did choose a color palette that was turquoise and purple and pink today. It was, when I grabbed colors, that's literally what I was looking at, thinking about what I'm gonna do. So I have, you know, I have the Ken Oliver sprinkled dusty things, which I don't know where they are, to be honest. I was showing them to someone, so they're probably in the front. And so, but I also have these Lindy's, and I also have his old version of it, which he did with a different company. So these are the same idea, that you put some water down and you sprinkle these on and they hydrate and make color. So, Kendall, I hate to ask, but if you could round up my spritzer of water. I don't know where it went. So one thing I'm going to do is we're going to see if I can get some texture off of this, even though we're looking at, it's a very, very, very thin, flimsy stencil. Not flimsy, I shouldn't say flimsy, it's a very thin stencil. So I'm going to see, ooh, it's all gold from the thing. I'm going to see if I can get some texture out of it. It's not going to be very deep texture though. So this is Liquitex modeling paste. And it is modeling paste, not molding paste. Modeling paste, yes. So it's got a nice smooth texture to it, and you can see it's picked up the color a little bit of the the inks I was using. So I'm just putting this down, see what we'll get from it. Again, very thin application. So I don't know, it's not a lot of texture, but I actually kind of like that in this setting. It's pretty. I think we're gonna flip since we have walked away. I would have done the thing where oh, here it is. Kendall, I found it, I'm sorry. I already have paint on my shirt.
So Lindy's, what is that color?
So this is, that's a good question. I do not have is my glasses. This is her magical shaker, and it's in color Magnolia Magenta Gold. Now, I'm pretty sure that means that there's more than one color in there, and so when I apply it, it might split and do something interesting. I'm always aware when my heat gun wavers a little bit and it's really hot like this that maybe we're in for some brownouts. We'll see. So I do have this texture that's on there. It's very subtle. Let's see what happens when I add some of this. So there are two ends to these shakers. The Ken Oliver ones are just a little squirt bottle. These are a shaker. So if I add some water and sprinkle a little bit on there, it should then bloom. Oh, I also have the paper artsy version of this, which they call, what do they call those? Infusions. Okay, so now you can kind of see the texture popping up. A little bit. And you can see there were a couple colors in there. I flood my work, so those colors are gonna pop up, you know, are gonna end up merging with each other because of the way I do my work, but see what happens when I just dry this around that texture. You see a little bit of it there. I hope I'm getting this in the frame of the camera. There's something very zen about watching paint dry, or watercolor sprays dry, maybe another way to say it. That moment when it seems to solidify in front of you can be very satisfying. Now, it's worth noting that the language that the stencil's in is, I think, Hungarian. They are, or maybe Romanian. It looks like it might be a Romantic language, but it's not English or French. But I kind of like that. I don't know what it says. It could say something completely mysterious. And I don't know if you've noticed, my the board is not warping. It is pretty hardy stuff, so it's standing up to both the water and the heat. So that's you know, that's a bonus. And I'm really leaning into this drying. Picked up a little gold in there, so that was obviously in the shaker bottle as well. There's a little sheen popping up. A lot of these shakers and watercolor inks don't display their mica until it's dry. And part of that is because mica, what you're seeing when you look at mica is the faceted edge, but when it's in something liquid, it floats. So it's floating around like this, so you don't necessarily see the sheen, but once it dries flat and it pops up. Little chemistry lesson for you today. Okay, am I done? I don't think I'm done, but nice little splodge there in the middle, and that sheen did pop up at the end there. That's kind of cool. So I've also, one of the things that I've noticed that people are using is dark colors, and it's not something I usually do myself. So I thought I would give. Did I think? I was thinking. All right, this is Seth Apter's Licorice, I think is what this one's called. Yeah, his dye spray. And so I'm just gonna come in. Ooh, look at that. That's me just scribbling it. Kind of like that, to be honest. All right, I was intending to make a little pool, but I kind of like how that's working. You know, this is, his stuff is water soluble, so even if I dry it, it will not stay in place. So I don't anticipate that this will stay like this, but I am gonna dry it in place right now and see what happens, because I kind of like it. I did get a notification from Ranger yesterday. It looks like my needle nose tops for Dina Wakely paints might actually be on their way finally, which means that we can draw with her acrylic paints, the ones that are in, let's see, these ones. if you have her gloss sprays and they have clogged on you, then a solution is to replace the nozzle with these tops that allow you to draw with them. So I'm looking forward to those showing up and playing around with that. A lot of dry time for just a little scribble. Okay. Guess the fact is a puddle is a puddle is a puddle. Okay, I'm gonna bring this one in. I used this one on the stamp on the project that I used on that I made on Wednesday. Came out really well. It's behind the POS if you come in and want to look at it. I'm really pleased with it. And this is the Crafters Workshop Butters. This is the chartreuse color, which is pretty dynamic and glowy and fun. I'm not trying to get huge expressions of the stencil, just a little color here and there. Pop down on top of all that. Let's try this. Now, if I remember correctly, this doesn't dry super fast. Oh, there are my glasses in my pocket. Hey.
Lois says hi.
Who did?
Lois.
Hi, Lois. Obviously, I've got a thing for pink right now that's sitting on my my desk. See if I can get this working. Okay, so let's see. I think what I'm going to do next is grab some wax paper and I'm going to put out a little bit of this. This is distress paint in the color Lucky Clover, which is, you know, greenish. His new color comes out, I think, this weekend maybe? And I'm gonna brayer some of it out onto my brayer. I don't want it to be super thick. And I'm just gonna brayer it on and see if I can't pick up some of the texture that's down, some of those letters, for instance. And you can see it's kind of working, yeah. I'm picking up those colors there. This is one way there. See that? You can really claw back some texture that you've put down that has disappeared, is to roll it over with a very, very thin layer of paint on a brayer. Do you see how that popping up there? I like it. Another thing to do, this is Dilusion's Funky Fuchsia. I actually have her new colors in. I'll grab those at some point and play with those in front of you. And so I'm just squirting this on and scraping it and seeing what it does, if anything. Meh. And then here is the Distress Paint in Dusty Concord. So I'm going to put that down here and see what that does. And now this is water soluble, so let's see what happens when I hit it with a little bit of water before it's completely dry. It's not soluble after it's dry, but do you see how, all right, so this is kind of fun. What happened is that it had interacted with the porous surface underneath, but it interacted differently with the texture paste that I had used, and so it has highlighted that, so you get this sort of window effect, which I like. Okay, so we're definitely, let's see what happens if we use some of this turquoise. Splattering. I like splattering. I almost never do it because honestly I just don't think to, but I do like it. It's sort of an easy way to add a splodge of color and to highlight something. Might be all that's left to me in terms of, okay, so you can see what happened here, how that, the black, you know, scribble that I did with the Sethapter's Ising, it's water soluble, so I put that water down on top of it, and you can see it's dissolving that imagery, which is fine. I knew that was going to happen. Probably going to go back in and reestablish it though at some point because I like the scribbly thing. That was working for me. It's kind of nice to work on a flat surface, one that doesn't have a bow in it or a crease in the middle to, you know, draw paint away. If the paint's going down where I leave it and it's staying there. Kind of fun. Changes the dynamic a little bit. Okay, so this is going pretty slowly. So what I'm going to do is actually take that paint that I just used and I'm going to dump it. Oh, what? Yep. Just Dina Wakely'd this. And I'm going to spread it around a little bit and just really bring that color to the whole page because this needs more color. Yes, it does. A little more paint here. Now remember, these gloss sprays are acrylic and they are fairly opaque. So I'm spreading it super thin, so I'm getting a really translucent layer. But when you spritz them, you know, you can see the dots. They're very opaque, so they do obscure what's underneath if you put it down thick enough. And it will seal. It'll seal up what's going on up in here. This is Martha Stewart satin, multi-surface satin in pumpkin. We all like pumpkins, don't we? We were just talking about planning for October. Thinking ahead a little bit. I like that. I'm gonna add some more. So it is my jam to cover pretty well the whole thing with color, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, I think. I'm not particularly good about leaving white space, though I do like it in my pieces sometimes. Sometimes I do get to a point where I'm like, that looks great, and I just leave it even though there's lots of white space. Rarely, though, I will be honest, it's rare. You can see that the very first layer that I did with the pigment and the blending tool, it's still there. You can still see it. That second layer that I did with the texture paste is still there. So, you know, for me, this is the beauty of layers, multimedia layers, where you're not trying to obscure anything. You're just adding. Is that, you know, for the most part, almost always you can see those previous layers somewhere. Now, I am working on a project where that's not necessarily true, and if it turns out, I will share it with you. But it hasn't resolved itself yet. Okay, all right. This is Finnabare's acrylic paint. This is one of her, is this her Sparks? No, this is her metallic brand, and it has solidified itself. So this is, I love her metallics because they're very, very metallic-y. Get a nice shimmer and sheen out of it. And all right, I'm gonna actually do this with this one and see see what it does. It's a paint, not a texture paste, so let's see how it works with this very thin, or if it just smudges around the words. Oh, that's not so bad. Let's do some more down here. So this is, you know, if you really want to get a good expression of this stencil, once you get to the point where you've got a bunch of stuff on the panel, you're probably better off using a sponge and just going for color and not texture. So if you're into words and writing, I should just mention that we have a little giveaway going on in conjunction with a calligraphy pen company that I work with, or that I carry, called Ferris Wheel Press. If you go to Instagram and you can find the post on our Instagram page that gives you the rules, but you're gonna like and follow the post and make a comment on our post, and then there's a designer named Sophie Taylor Designs, Taylor Design Studio, and she, if you post on hers or her post, and then Ferris Wheel Press, if you post on theirs, any of those options will put you in the running for a giveaway they're doing. And the giveaway includes inks and a really beautiful pen. The pen's 130 bucks, so it's a good, it's a really nice, generous prize package if you win. So if you're into it, if you like nice pens, it's a fountain pen. Comes with a converter, so you can use dip ink with it. But I recommend checking it out. Oh, yay. So Kendall's on it. She's forwarded you the link if you want. And Ferris Wheel Press has some beautiful colors. I really recommend checking it out. I have most of their colors. I don't have all their inks, but I have almost all the colors in the small size, or the medium size. And then I have some of their sets. But I'll be honest, it's been popular, so I don't have as many as when I first ordered. Kind of going kind of fast. All right, this is a little schizophrenic. So let's see what we can do about pulling this together a little bit. Like this. So here's the thing about distress paints. I think I demonstrated it earlier. They are water soluble, so I'm gonna throw down some water with this so I can drag. And I'm gonna drag it across a lot of this white space that I have, because I don't want it to be white anymore. And you know, I'm gonna do the thing where I turn the page so that I can see and reach places that I hadn't worked on before. I'm gonna hydrate it again, thin it out, drag it around. Add a little more. Is it in the frame? I can't tell you. Okay. So if you don't have a stencil, you could have started with some pretty calligraphy writing on the base of the panel. That would have been a nice place to start. Or even just messy, scrawly handwriting can be really fun too, in a pretty color. All right. So hopefully you see some cohesion happening here. And still see that original stenciling peeking out underneath the paint. So killing me that this is not, okay, there. Look at that. I've got a little jet of color.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
It's almost like I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose, for sure.
Is that the Seth after?
That's the Seth after. Look what it did. That was awesome. So what happened is that I've been playing with it. I squirted some water on the nozzle and left it, so it dissolved a little bit of, because it's water soluble, it dissolved whatever the clog was, but not fully, so it created a little jet. So this is what I got out of that. So let's see what happens when I dry this up. Kind of like it. Suits my, feeling a little schizophrenic today, so that works. Okay, so you can see that as it was a happy accident. You can see as it dries, it loses a little of its intensity. And, you know, this might be a spot where you use a gloss black instead, so you sort of keep that vibrancy alive. But I like it. I like what's happened. In fact, I like it enough that I might spray set this. I do have a spray sealant that I use sometimes. Not sure where it is, but and I just do light layers. I do many light layers instead of, you know, a couple of heavy ones, so I don't get it wet, so that it seals these water soluble layers down. They're very effective. I used to have to use them for my charcoal drawings, and they really do seal it so that it doesn't smear. So yeah, I might want to preserve this before I move on. I do want to put some more layers down, but I don't want to lose this awesome splatter I've got going. Adding a little bit of this turquoise in the splatter as well. So that completely transformed it. I was feeling kind of blech about what was happening, but now I've got some serious energy and contrast, which is what I like. I don't know if you can see what that turquoise is doing sitting on top of it, and the scribble looks kind of fun. And so yeah, I might actually call that done for now and then seal it up and think about whether or not I want to do more. I do think I want to do some more, but at this point, you know, I've done the sort of large scale stuff, and now I might narrow in and do some little bits. Like I might add some more of this stencil with different colors and maybe do some more blending. I think that would be neat. So actually, let me just, since I'm thinking I'm going to do that down here, let me see what happens if I do that blending down here. What did I do with my blending brush? Okay, so I'm going to go back with the StazOn, that turquoise that I used early on, and see if I can't bring some of that wording forward. Float it back on top a little bit. Bit, you know, I should probably let this dry before I do that. But you can see it's reestablished a little bit of the color. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Let's see. The Stamperia flip-flop book tomorrow is almost full. I think there's 1 or 2 spots left if you're interested. It's really fun. It's a great way to use the Stamperia imagery. Stamperia imagery. And you know, their paper packs are so fun. So I hope you are considering it, and I hope you got inspired to be a little messy today with your art journaling or your backgrounds, and I hope to see you in the store soon. Stay well, everybody.